곧 행사가 시작될 예정이니 참가자는 모두 자리에 앉아 카메라를 켜주시기 바랍니다. 곧 행사가 시작될 예정이니 참가자는 모두 자리에 앉아 카메라를 켜주시기 바랍니다. 여러분 안녕하세요. 반갑습니다. 영어 말하기 대회 행사를 시작하기 전 먼저 단체 사진 촬영이 있겠습니다. 그럼 모두 카메라를 향해 저를 따라해서 이렇게 파이팅 포즈 취해 주시기 바랍니다. 그럼 제가 7초 동안 카운트를 세도록 하겠습니다. 네, 자세 유지해 주시고요. 자, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 네, 감사합니다. 그럼 이제 대회를 시작하도록 하겠습니다. 자, hello everyone. My name is Paul Kim, and I'll be your MC for today's contest. First of all, I would like to welcome you to the 21st IYF English Speech Contest National Finals. And before we officially begin, we would like to introduce you one of the main programs of IYF, which is called Good News Corps. So at this time, we'll watch the promotional video.
아프리카 탄자니아에는 어려운 가정 형편으로 교육을 제대로 받지 못하는 학생들이 여전히 많습니다. 탄자니아 학생들을 위해서 한국 청년들이 문화교육에 나섰다고 하는데요.
자, 이번에 소개해드릴 젊은이들도
네.
이 청춘을 무기 삼아서 전 세계를 돌면서 1년 동안 봉사활동을 펼쳤다고 합니다.
네.
머나먼 이국 땅 에티오피아에는 축구를 통해서 희망을 전하는 동포 청년이 있습니다. 현지 축구단 코치로 일하면서 한국식 팀 플레이와 협동심을 가르치고 있다고 하는데요.
세계 각국에서 온 자원봉사자들이 학교 외벽에 벽화를 그리고 있는 중이다. 세계 지도를 그리는 봉사자들의 얼굴이 낯설지가 않다.
그런데 우리나라 자원봉사단이 아프리카의 큰 잔치 중에 하나인 아프리카 대학체전이라는 행사에서 눈부신 활약을 펼치고 왔는데요.
네, 에티오피아 정부 관계자분들도요, 그 열정적인 우리 봉사단 분들의 모습에 정말 감동을 하셨다고 합니다.
이런 게 바로 국위선양 아니겠습니까?
네.
우리 봉사단이 해외에서 뜻깊은 일했다는 게 정말 자랑스럽고 아주 그 주말을 맞이해서 훈훈한 소식 잘 봤습니다.
여기 군 뉴스콜을 통해 진정한 행복을 만난 사람들이 있습니다. 우리는 1년 동안 자신의 한계를 뛰어넘었고 마음을 나누며 함께 흐르는 법을 배웠으며 그동안 알지 못했던 내 모습을 발견하면서 변치 않는 사랑을 만나 변화되는 행복을 배웠고 이제 또 다른 변화를 향해 나아갑니다. 세계 최고의 군 뉴스코 해외 현장 프로그램 인큐베이팅, 사람을 키웁니다. 교육봉사 프로그램을 통해 교육과 경험의 장을 만듭니다. 우리는 세상을 바꾸는 디자이너입니다. 사회봉사 프로그램으로 현지에 실질적인 도움을 줍니다. 빈 종이 위에 꿈을 디자인하는 자기계발형 봉사. 문화 외교 프로그램으로 한국 문화와 현지 문화의 교류를 실현합니다. 우리는 마음과 마음을 잇습니다. 선도 봉사 프로그램으로 사람들에게 기독교 정신을 바탕으로 희망의 메시지를 전합니다. 위대함은 평범함을 깨는 것입니다. 민간 외교 프로그램으로 세상에 큰 일을 할 수 있는 리더로 성장해 나갑니다. 선택의 폭이 넓은 월드와이드 해외봉사. 군 뉴스코 해외봉사단은 세계 최다 보유국가인 95개국에서 해외봉사를 진행합니다.
Thank you. Through this contest, you'll be able to take one step closer toward becoming a global leader. And I hope that you will not take this only as a competition, but an opportunity to improve your leadership skills. Best of luck to all of you. And now we will officially begin the contest. Please join us in opening the contest with loud cheers and a big round of applause. And now we will begin the 21st IYF English Speech Contest National Finals! Thank you. And next, we have a congratulatory message from the chairman of IYF, 박문택.
여러분 안녕하십니까? IYF 회장 박문택입니다. 제21회 IYF 온라인 영어말하기대회 결선이 되었습니다. 예선, 본선 통과하신 분들이 이 자리에 계신데 개인적으로 봤을 때 정말 대단하십니다. 그리고 축하드립니다. 그 많은 경쟁을 뚫고 또 무엇보다도 여러분들 자신의 마음과 싸워서 이 자리에 오셨습니다. 정말 대단한 일을 해내셨습니다. 저희 아이가 막내가 초등학교 2학년인데 한 번씩 이렇게 화상영어를 배워요. 그럼 선생님이 이렇게 모니터에 나타나서 딱 이야기를 하십니다. 동찬, how are you? 그렇게 하세요. 제가 우리 아이를 좀 멀리서 지켜봤거든요. 이 아이가 뭐라고 대답을 하냐면 fine. 그렇게 하고 끝나는 거예요. fine 하고 끝나는 거예요. 제가 이제 중고등학교 때 다른 건 기억 안 나지만 fine, thank you, and you. 이것은 정확하게 기억이 나거든요. 선생님들께서 how are you 하면 fine, thank you, and you. 여기까지 딱 가르쳐 주셨어요. 제가 우리 아이가 fine 하고 끝내길래 몇 번 그렇게 하길래 이야기를 했습니다. 동찬아, 대답한 건 맞는데 이것은 서로 말을 하는 거야. 그러면 네가 선생님도 어떻게 지내셨습니까? 물론 선생님에 대한 거 다 몰라도 되겠지만 우리가 인사를 할 때는 내가 인사를 받고 상대방에게도 인사를 하는 거야. 그게 and you야. fine, thank you, and you야. 그렇게 가르쳐 줬어요. 그렇게 하니까 그 다음부터는 fine으로 안 끝나고 thank you, and you 이렇게 넘어가더라고요. 우리는 이렇게 한국어를 쓰죠. 또 세계 많은 사람들이 영어를 씁니다. 또 이 자리에 오신 여러분들 영어 말하기 대회를 하기 위해서 한 몇 달간은 영어와 굉장히 가까운 시간들을 이렇게 가졌을 겁니다. 어떤 때는 그 시간이 괴롭기도 했고 또 어떤 때는 재미있기도 했고 성취감을 느끼기도 했고 그런 여러 감정들을 거치면서 지금까지 오셨을 텐데 우리가 배우는 건 단순한 말이 아닙니다. 이 말을 통해서 내가 어떤 유창한 말을 하고 내 의견을 잘 나타내는 데에서 끝나지 않고 이 말은 서로 상대방과 연결이 되는 것입니다. Fine. 여기서 끝나는 것이 아니라 잘 지냈습니다. 당신은 잘 지냈습니까? 그러면서 우리는 옆에 사람과 하나가 되고 연결이 되어가는 거죠. 이 영어 말하기 대회는 바로 여러분들을 그런 사회인으로 성장하는 발판으로 마련해 드리고 있습니다. 여러분들이 어려움을 거쳐서 이 자리에 오셨는데 여러분들이 앞으로 또 중고등학생은 대학교로 가고 대학생들은 앞으로 사회에 진출하고 그러면서 우리가 다 국제 무대에 설 텐데 그때 여러분들이 영어 잘하는 사람, 거기서 더 나아가서 영어로 다른 사람의 마음을 이끌 수 있는 사람 뿐만 아니라 영어가 아니라 하더라도 내 마음을 다해서 옆에 사람의 마음을 같이 이끌어 갈 수 있는 사람, 그런 사람으로 성장하시길 바라겠습니다. 결선에서 여러분들 모두 좋은 성적이 있기를 바라겠습니다. 하지만 상은 정해져 있죠. 상관없습니다. 상을 받으시는 분들 축하드리고 그렇지 않다 하더라도 이 시간들이 앞으로 여러분들 인생을 더 유익하게 해드릴 겁니다. 이제부터 한 분씩 나오셔서 발표를 할 텐데 편안하게 하십시오. 또 내가 이 자리에 서서 많은 사람들에게 내 이야기를 할 수 있구나 기쁨으로 하십시오. 여러분들 모두에게 축복된 자리가 될 것을 믿습니다. 감사합니다.
Thank you. We have another congratulatory message by the ambassador of Honduras in Korea, Mr. Virgilio Paredes Trapero.
Greeting to the International Youth Fellowship and the International Youth Coalition. My name is Virgilio Paredes Trapero, and I am the ambassador of Honduras in Korea. It is such a privilege to address this country's younger generation, and I hope that through this message you can feel the warmth of a country located in the heart of the American continent called Honduras. First, I would like to make a brief reflection about the value of language learning. We currently live in times where we are able to learn languages easily and have access to unlimited information and different education tools that allowed us to reach that goal. All of us are proof of how valuable learning a language is, as I can communicate with you in English, even though that is not the native language of neither our countries. At the end, the main goal of learning any language is to have the opportunity to communicate with others and hopefully to understand each other. Learning another language is a value for education and professionally, but as you continue learning English, it is my wish that you can find a more personal reason that motivates you when studying doesn't feel fun. For example, feeling passionate about learning about other cultures, read a book in the language that was originally written, travel, or making more friends. Also, I hope you can expand your curiosity about other languages as well. And while at is, I would like to suggest Spanish. Don't think that I'm biased, but Spanish is such a wonderful language. But the idea of having a Spanish-speaking contest in Korea it's really exciting. Don't you think so? Finally, I would like to express my support for the 2021 Iyf Online English Speaking Contest. And I wish all of you success during the contest and a bright future. Thank you very much. Kamsahamnida.
Thank you. Now, I would like to introduce you the judges for today's contest. First, we have our Chief Judge and IYF English Village Health Services Manager, Jared Della Paz. IYF English Village Director, Ji Soo-won. IYF English Department Director of Human Resources, Jim Mahler. IYF English Instructor, Hee-ryung Roach. Aju University Professor, Scott Scattergood. Gyeonggi University Professor, Ernest Lee. Catholic Kwangdong University Professor, Laura Hall. Thank you. And now, the Chief Judge, Jared Della Paz, will come out and explain the judging criteria. Excuse me? Sorry to interrupt. Right now, we cannot hear your voice. Please check your technical invoice settings. Thank you.
Hello?
Please.
Okay. Yes. So once again, congratulations to everyone for making it to the regional finals, to the national finals, I mean. And since this is a competition, I would just like to remind you of some of the judging criteria that the judges are looking in your speeches. The first things that I would like to tell you is about the themes that we have given you. And we have 6 themes: my dream touching episode, person I admire, exchange, self-control, and thinking ability, and 21st century world problems and how to solve them. And the last will be the future where the role of man coexisting with robots. Now, we are judging you in two criteria. The first one would be your literary work, which is 50 points. And here, we're looking if your topics are creative or is it appropriate, and if what you've written is logical and well organized. And then checking also about your expressions, how you use your words, your vocabularies, and you really maximizing this to convey your heart to us. And that is 50 points. The next 50 points would be your presentation skills. That's when you, in this time is give your presentations. And we're looking for clear pronunciation and understandable. We're not actually looking for any specific accent, but we're just looking for clear pronunciation. And next one will be if you are showing appropriate gestures or posture. And if you're engaging, are you really talking to us? Are you really connecting with us? And if you are exhibiting professional conduct. And the next will be gestures and facial expressions. Are they appropriate? And the last will be if you understood your contents well and how well you present those your stories to us. Again, this is a timed speech. And with that in mind, it means that you have 4 minutes. So I think you have practiced enough to be in that limit, because if you go over 4 minutes for every fraction of 30 seconds, there will be a 5-point deduction. And once again, congratulations for making it here. And I wish everybody good luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we will move on to the speeches. So first, we will start with our first contestant. Contestant number 1, Hwang Woo-ju. The title is My Dream, a Teacher.
Can I start?
Yes.
Have you ever respected someone? Today, I will share my dream with you. My dream is to become a teacher. I've had this dream since I met my English teacher. I met my English teacher in high school. I wanted to learn a lot from him and make a good impression on him as a student. I really enjoyed learning English when I was in primary school. But learning English was not that fun, and I found it boring and hard, particularly in high school. I lost my interest in learning English and found myself obsessed with getting higher scores, contrary to my belief that interests are highly proportional to test results. I wasn't able to genuinely enjoy learning English at the time. However, my teacher led me on the right path again with 2 teaching methods. He let us deliberately select passages that were related to each individual streams in the class, and this was a huge success. Most students became very passionate in reading such passages. Another teaching method was to adopt a mentor-mentee policy. He divided the class into 2 groups. One group included the students who liked learning English. The other had those who had difficulties in learning English. The mentors of the mentees learned English and the mentees had fun. This policy turned out to be popular very soon because the mentees were able to ask many questions when necessary. The teachers successfully stimulated our interest in learning English. Whenever I think of the value of a teacher, he's the first one that comes to mind, and I realize how important motivating students is in education. Furthermore, my dream has been solidified thanks to a Korean drama called Black Dog. In this drama, I found another opportunity to discover the meaning of a teacher. The drama emphasized that teachers constantly promote students' potentials. If I were to strictly go by this meaning, becoming a true teacher would be difficult, but I will try to attain this goal. To illustrate my personal experiences, I've seen too much school violence and so many classmates who are struggling in their relationship with friends. Besides, when I was a senior in high school, my friends had serious concerns about their major selections at college. I firmly believe that school must be a place which instills dreams and hopes in students instead of increasing their stress levels. My plan is to build a positive image for school, and later one day I want to hear my students say, "My happy school life was thanks to you. Thanks a lot." For what reasons does a teacher exist? This is the question I've always asked myself when thinking of the question, who is defined as a good teacher? The answer I gave myself was, let me be a teacher who provides for and delivers students' dreams, hopes, and good memories. I have this dream of my students acknowledging my teaching and feeling grateful that they have me as a teacher. Thank you.
Next contestant is number 2, Lee Sang-hee. The title is I'm Sorry.
Why do you always have to be so right? Why is everyone else the problem? I hear this too much. Okay, I admit that it's not easy for me to accept my mistakes when someone is pointing them out. Honestly, I never understood why people stick their noses into my business when I'm doing everything perfectly well. And because of this attitude of mine, I've often argued with my friends who have nicknamed me Princess Prickly. And it was my attitude that often made me argue with my parents as well. Well, this year, my freshman year in college, I got a part-time job at McDonald's. I was in my uniform and hat with the golden arches, and I just really wanted to do well. One day, I was receiving orders from a long line of customers as usual when an old lady came up. She seemed angry and said, "Hey, this coffee is terrible. I will not take this. Make me another cup." I was surprised, but I remembered my training and politely replied with a smile. "Ma'am, the coffee here is made from all the same coffee machines. Your coffee is the same coffee we serve others." Furious, she yelled, "Don't try to teach me. If a customer says so, just apologize and make me another cup." With her yelling, everyone there started staring at us. I was angry and speechless. My manager came up and told the old lady, "Oh, we are sorry for making you upset. Let me get you a new cup of coffee." Hearing that, she completely changed her attitude and said, "I'm sorry, and thank you, dear." When she stepped out, she told me, "Hey, you must be startled. When you work here, there will be incidents you can't understand. Even so, when you deal with customers, you should start by saying, 'I'm sorry.'" After what happened, I started thinking, why was the old lady so angry when I talked to her, but reacted differently when the manager spoke to her? I was insisting on the fact that I was right and not caring or understanding how she felt. It was so hard for me to admit that I was wrong. Saying "I'm sorry" has always been very embarrassing for me. However, when I realized that I could be wrong, even when it seems I'm right, it became easier for me to say "I'm sorry." It wasn't something to be embarrassed of, but rather greasing the wheels, something that could help in resolving conflict. I began to grease the wheels little by little with my customers, my parents, and my friends, and the result turned out better than I expected. Are you having conflicts with the people around you? Be bold enough to admit that you can be wrong too. Then anyone would open their hearts to you. Thank you.
Next is contestant number 3, Kim Dong-hyuk. The title is The Calyx Night Sky.
Around us, the stars continued their silent march, gentle like a great flock. And sometimes I imagined one of the stars, the finest and the most brilliant, having our way and lying on my shoulders to sleep. Do you often gaze at the stars? This beautiful passage is part of Alphonse Daude's novel, The Stars. The shepherd boy and Lady Stephanès are so beautifully talking to each other while looking at the stars and falling asleep while thinking of one another. Sometimes I look at the stars in the dark night sky and think about this and that. When I look at the sky, one great memory arises, as like the shepherd boy in the novel. Once, maybe 2 years ago, I was a manager of dance teams. Yes, you may think I'm such a great dancer, right? Do you want to see my dance? Maybe the baby shark is the best one. Okay, anyways, the only reason I became a manager was because I had overseas experience in the United States. So I embarked on an adventure with 40 students from 7 different countries, and we started to create a creative cultural dance. Wow, it was unforgettable. Since I was so new in managing things, such as planning dances, videos, and costumes, I had to endure so many difficulties. The only way I could survive was to humble myself and keep learning. I lacked the ability to make dances and the eye to design costumes. Even having a meeting with team members from various countries was a difficulty. As days went on, soon I got tired. So I asked the team leader for advice, and he taught me the kind of mindset that was unforgettable. It was about the importance of the colors. There are many colors of the flowers in the world. Yellow, red, blue, large and small flowers create a beauty in nature and are pleasant to the eye. But one thing that people easily overlook is the presence of the flower bulb. To have a beautiful structure, you need a strong base. Have you ever thought about it? The calyx is very important structure to maintain the beauty of the flowers by supporting it. The surprising thing is that the flower blooms once and eventually falls apart, but the calyx produces the beautiful flowers tens of hundreds of times. Very impressive, isn't it? After hearing this story, I was able to change the direction of my thinking. It was because of my sacrifice that our team can exist. With the sacrifices of each staff member, like myself, our dance team members were able to create a beautiful performance on the stage. In other words, we are able to bloom the flowers. Every time I look at the stars in the dark night sky and think of this calyx. A star can never shine alone, but the darker it is around, the brighter it shines. Even though I couldn't shine on the stage by myself, it was a beautiful memory in watching both the team members and the audience be happy. Do you often see the stars? I want you to look at the night sky and think about the shining stars from time to time. And sometimes, try to be a dark sky. The darker the night sky, the more the stars will beautifully shine around you. Thank you.
Next is contestant number 4, Yu Mi-hwa. The title is The One Who Stands Up.
I'm from a multicultural family with a Japanese mother and a Korean father. Of course, it's good to experience various cultures and learn Japanese better than others. But when I was young, it was stressful that my mother was Japanese. It's because of the Korea-Japan relationship. The comments I heard growing up were comments such as these. You're not a true Korean. You're a spy. If there is a war with Japan, we should kill people like you first. These comments were extremely hurtful when I was growing up. Whenever I attended a Korean history lecture, I intentionally tried to think about other things and mumbled myself with minimum sound. Because its subject was about the Japanese colonial era, when Korea was forcibly deprived of its national sovereignty by the Japanese for 35 years. Though it's true, it was a huge stress for me, because it made me feel like they're swearing at my mother's country, and I felt like I was becoming a sinner. However, my Japanese mother was the turning point for me. When I told my mom about the hurtful comments, she firmly told me, They don't think about you getting hurt by these comments. Do not be hurt by those words. If you react to those words, you'll be the only one who falls into more difficulty. My mom is strong for living in Korea and a Japanese person, and she has overcome all of these difficulties by not letting those comments hinder her. As I got older, I got used to the comments and think, this is inevitable. Rather, now I want to help multicultural families or Japanese living in Korea. I created a college students talent donation group and doing the program that gives Korean and history lectures for first year for the Japanese who stay in Busan. Using this as a stepping stone, I would like to study a lot about multicultural society and do works to resolve society's indifference and prejudice against foreigners and multicultural families. Today, I'm no longer my old self who gets stressed out for the reason of being a mix of Korean and Japanese. The reason being that I have chosen to be the one who stands up to the discrimination and harsh stereotypes of society. I've thought of ways to combat the current views on Korean Japanese children by first telling my own story about what I went through and how it made me feel. I hope that if I speak, people will start listening and realizing that their views and opinions must change in order to stop hurting people like us. Thank you.
Contestant number 5, Son Yu-ri. The title is Experiences That Changed the Way I See the World.
Have you ever experienced a feeling of warmth in your heart? I'm going to talk about 2 unforgettable experiences that forever changed the way I see the world. Have you ever seen a blind person holding a white cane up in the air in the middle of the street? This is a sign that they're asking someone for help. Did you also know that if you're asked for help, you should stand on the other side of the cane and stick out your elbow for the blind person to grab onto? I know we usually don't get the chance to find out about this information, and furthermore, it's nerve-wracking to approach the blind person when you're trying to help them. It was scary for me too, but I was fortunate enough to know this information from a previous experience. There was a school for the blind right next to my own school, so I used to volunteer there often with my friends. After enjoying some games, reading books to them, and having so much fun together as friends without prejudice, I found out that they were just like me, with the same concerns and similar thoughts, just as all teenagers would have. The memories with them are even more precious to me now, since the impact that certain situations can have on your life can rarely be appreciated in the moment. At age 12, I had a chance to visit an orphanage as well. It was a girl's birthday, so my mom and I bought a cake to celebrate her special day. Oh, wow, is this cake? It's my first time eating this, she said. For me, it was just a cake that I could eat whenever I wanted in my daily life. But to her, it was everything. This situation helped me to appreciate how such things can bring such incredible joy and happiness to others. I've always been told from my parents that I should be grateful for all the small things that I have in my life. Before I had all those experiences, I didn't know exactly what small things my parents were talking about, and I was unaware of how true happiness is related to each individual's situation. However, even though it was just a little bit of help, I found out giving back to others is what brings me true happiness. Helping ourselves while helping others is a reward that life gives us, and I'm very thankful for having the opportunity to do so. These moments in my life are defining moments for me. I learned a lot about the struggles of other people, and whilst doing so, I learned a lot about myself. Regardless of advantage or disadvantage, I understood that people often struggle with the same problems and feelings. Additionally, thanks to these experiences, I do not take my privilege for granted, and I'm always grateful for what I have. Despite our personal situations, I think that we can find self-worth through helping others, and we can develop ourselves by connecting with people from a variety of backgrounds. Thank you.
Next is contestant number 6, Park Dong-in. The title is Looking for a Better World.
I lost my love that day. A companion, soulmate. Born in Germany, she looked so exotic, I couldn't take my eyes off her. She provided comfort, was always there for me. I knew we were made for each other. I even introduced her to my parents the first day we met. My four-legged friend, my silver BMW E90. A thunderstorm was expected that day, but it didn't stop me from going to bed. August 7th, last year, midnight, she drowned in an underground parking lot and was later pronounced dead. I lost my BMW to heavy rain. To a lot of you, I may just sound like a stupid car geek who loved his car too much. But many of us, at least people living in Gwangju like me, lost something or someone that day. 138 households flooded. Thousands have lost their livelihoods due to flooding in this region. Water was rising more and more. Doors were breaking. You hear something crashing, flowing, and rushing outside. It was a shock. I blame climate change. The weather in this world is changing, and I worry people in this region, in this nation, will go through a lot more pain in the future. Though we have been hearing about climate change a gazillion times and what to do against it, we often disapprove of this theory. How Earth is becoming uninhabitable, catastrophic floods, overwhelming wildfires, insane heat waves that will burn us alive. They've been telling you this apocalyptic horror story for too long, and you're just sick of it. We've all been there. It felt so distant for me. Until my hometown was flooded that day. Catastrophic floods, overwhelming wildfires, insane heat waves already here, happening right in front of our eyes. So, how do we solve climate change? Or, more likely, how do we get people engaged in solving climate change? We need to take actions. micro as well as macro. First, micro actions. We need to get people to realize that going green is not going to cost them that much green in their wallet. Take, for example, solar panels. Easily attachable on rooftops, it is effective and cost efficient. It is contagious. If I heard good news from neighbors about how I can save the earth and save me some bucks, I would run out there and get it on my rooftop by myself. Macro actions. We need to make a collaborative effort as opposed to climate change. Vote for eco-friendly representatives. Mail your local congressman and voice your opinions on climate change. Your tiny attempts to save the world from imminent danger will result in macro actions, like banning all internal combustion cars by 2030s, or stricter regulations on carbon emissions for factory plants. After more than a year later, I'll look back on that day and say, what a mess. We all know chasing two hares at once can be demanding, conservation or development, but we've got to take steps to stop this tragedy. Nothing can bring back my beloved car, nor save those businesses lost in the flood. But one thing I do know, there's no shame in looking for a better world. Thank you.
Next is contestant number 7, Lee Hye-jin. The title is Love Phobia.
What do you have a fear of? Scary movies? Insects? Your mother? I think all of us have a phobia about something. Some people have a fear of money. We call it money phobia. I developed a fear called philophobia, also known as love phobia. Those who suffer from love phobia find it hard to love or open up their hearts to others. When I was a kid, I was a people person, so I always had many friends around me. For me, it was natural to be with my friends. But when I became a middle school student, I got into a serious fight with one of my friends. Since then, they started to turn their backs on me. With intention to make up, I asked them, "Why are you guys so angry? Let's reconcile." But they said, "No, we don't like you." And they left me. Since then, I became afraid of making friends. Even if I had some friends with whom I hung around and laughed together, I was always afraid that they would leave me or that I would get into a fight with them. At some point, I started to close my heart. I developed love phobia. You know what? Once you become afflicted with love phobia, your heart becomes as cold as ice. It seemed as if I placed a thick layer of ice around my heart so that no one could touch it. One day, something unexpected happened to me. Last summer, I participated in the online World Youth Camp, during which there was a group meeting session where the members opened up as they got to know each other. As always, I couldn't open my heart. Then, early in the morning on July 8th, I logged into our Zoom meeting when suddenly I heard familiar voices singing. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Hae-jin. Happy birthday to you. Wow! Then I was told to blow out the candles on a little cake. Those warm candles, along with everyone's kindness, melted my heart. As you may have already guessed, it was my birthday. I couldn't hold my tears as I saw the faces of friends and teachers on the screen. How did they know my birthday? As I thought about all the efforts that they must have made for the surprise party, I felt my heart grow warm. Do you know how to overcome a phobia? The best way is to expose yourself to your fears little by little. That day, I was able to connect with the hearts of others. I had never this would happen, but I got to feel the love of my teacher and teammates who cared for me. Since that day, I've been opening up to others instead of avoiding them to overcome my love phobia. I know that everyone I meet may not be as warm as the ones who greeted me on my birthday. Perhaps I will come across some people like those of my middle school days. Regardless, I would like to share the warmth of the candles that I received for those who may be experiencing love phobia. Thank you.
Next is contestant number 8, Kim Kyung-ah. The title is 30 to 80%.
Ouch, my shoulder! On August 10th, when I woke up after being drugged with heavy anesthesia for an 8-hour surgery, my right shoulder hurt so much that I couldn't turn my neck. I was immediately given a narcotic pain reliever, which knocked me out cold. When I woke up a second time, a thick oxygen tube was in my throat, blocking my airway and making me vomit. There were also several needles in my collarbone and 3 water sacs hanging out of my stomach. My stomach pain was killing me and I couldn't breathe. The nurse told me to keep practicing my breathing, otherwise water would fill my lungs and I would die. But how could I breathe like this? And on top of that, I couldn't get up on my own, but she told me to walk around the corridors for exercise. I cursed her in my heart. Are you wondering if I got sick or had an accident? No. I did a liver transplant for my father. My father had cirrhosis of the liver for 12 years. It's a disease where the liver fails to function properly and eventually leads to death. 3 years ago, my father reached terminal stage and was on the brink of dying. To save him, I transplanted 70% of my liver. But I'm only in college and making the decision to do it wasn't easy. I was afraid and hesitant at first. How will I be affected by this decision? But letting my father die was also not an option, especially when this transplant could save him. I had to overcome this fear. But after the operation, I regretted immediately my decision. The post-surgery pain left me in so much agony that all I could think was, why did I do it? I should have just left my father alone whether he dies or not. I thought I was going to die. Fortunately, all the pain gradually went away. Looking back at it now, it was a fearful decision and a difficult process, but I think it was a good choice for me. Although I suffered a lot, I was able to save my father, who has recovered significantly now. My father can now continue doing the work he loves. Furthermore, my liver, which had only 30% left after surgery, has grown 80%. Martin Luther King said, "A man who won't die for something is not fit to live." Now, I came to know the reason why he said that. Just as my liver grows again, through this experience, I learned to fight my fears when it came to something worthwhile. This experience has become my guideline in life. I'm sure I face many more decisions in the future. Even then, rather than making an easy decision for a difficult thing, I'm going to make a worthy decision, even if it's scary and hard. Thank you.
Next is contestant number 9, Byun Shin Hee. The title is Loser's Life.
I got the first place. Of course, from the back. I've never missed this position. People told me, "Can you even go to the college?" It's actually hard to keep the last place. Whenever I heard this, I thought that no matter what I did, I was last, and the last place was a natural tag for me. One day, I saw the poster that say, "The secret that only 1% of successful people know." Can I also succeed? No way. How can the last succeed? However, at the bottom of the poster, it showed the secret to succeed is not to have a negative thought. I always have desire to be successful, but contrary to successful people, I had negative thought that I can't make it. I suddenly started to wonder what kind of life possible people live. Meanwhile, the director Stefano Ravanni came into my head. He is the coach of the Italian professional volleyball team, even though he doesn't have experience as a volleyball player. He is also the protagonist who wrote the new history in Korean women's volleyball at the Tokyo Olympics. He led the Italian national team to get the second place in National League and was appointed as a coach for Korean national team, leading Korean players to advance to the semifinals at the Tokyo Olympics, which no one expected. The director Stefano Ravanni was behind all of them. Even if players made mistakes, he guided the players by saying, "If you believe you can go further, you can actually go further." It seemed impossible to beat the national team of Turkey and the Dominican Republic, since their players are one of the world's best players and physically and skillfully predominant. However, the Korean national team, who received the help of the director, has achieved amazing results in advancing to the semi-finals. I couldn't believe it was achieved solely through possible thought. I had the courage to be in the first place from the last if I live with this mindset, and I began to think positively and shouting, "I'm in the first place! I can do it! I am capable!" As I said earlier, I was always in the last place. When people around me put pressure on me to study, and when other students tried hard to get into college, I didn't even study. It was because I thought even if I tried, I would keep being in the last, so it was hard to start to study. However, when he faced the difficulties, he didn't give up. He kept improving himself with the thought that he is able to make it by getting help from others. The coach growing even in the face of adversity with possible work made me challenge myself. I started to challenge myself from the beginning one by one with the thought, "I know it's hard, but I can do it." As I didn't give up and challenged myself with possible work, a big change came to me. I was able to get into a college with a great grade, and I've never missed the top position so far. Changing the negative word of "I can't," "it's impossible," to the positive word of "I can do it," "I am capable," led me to succeed whatever I try. I will overcome any difficulties with this positive mind. I'm in the first place. Thank you.
Next is contestant number 10, Jo Jung-soo. The title is My Father.
I'm majoring in music at university. It's difficult to enter with this major, even if you've played for a long time, unless you're gifted or your family is very rich. Because of my family situation, it wouldn't be easy to go. But after many twists and turns, I finally entered a music university. All of my friends were dating, doing club activities, and traveling, but not me. My daily routine was go to school and study hard and repeat the next day. My life felt like a merry-go-round. My father used to work in construction, but one day he fell from a 3-story building and was badly injured. After dozens of surgeries and long rehabilitation, he finally recovered. Unfortunately, he suffered some disability to his legs and back due to his injuries. He couldn't work construction anymore. He knew his 2 children had to go to university. So he started looking for a different line of work and found a job as a designated driver. One late night, my father came home and he looked very gloomy. We were all worried and asked him what was wrong, but he wouldn't say anything. We kept pestering him and finally he explained what happened. He got a pickup call from a young man, and while driving him home, he found out that young man was attending the same music school as me. If my father had a normal job, he would have been proud to say that his son also majors in music at the same school. But he was worried that I would be embarrassed or the other students would look down on me because of his job. Then he told me, "Son, I'm sorry, I don't have a nice job and live in a fancy house. And you have to go to school on a public bus with your heavy instrument every day." He sounded very discouraged. For the first time, I told my father, "I'm always proud of you because you work so hard for our family, and I respect you for sacrificing so much for us. I'm not ashamed to tell my friend what your job is. That kind of thing doesn't bother me. So if you meet any of my classmates in the future, don't worry. Boast all you want about me." When I finished speaking, he was crying. Since then, we've become even closer. I worked extra hard and received a scholarship to help take some of the burden off of my father. I will be graduating soon, and I'm so thankful that I have a father who worked so hard and supported me to get to this point. I just want to say how much I love and respect my father, and I hope after graduating, I can get a good job to return some of the support to him. Thank you.
Next is contestant number 11, 최윤식. The title is The Person I Respect.
Hello everyone. Have you ever thought, I wish I could be like this person? As live your life or read a book? Do you have a person you respect? I would like to introduce to you a person who is warm-hearted, listens to me the best, and has taught me self-control. He is my father. My father owns a tire shop. He goes to work early in the morning, sells tires, and even works in construction sites. I had an opportunity to help him as he had to move his shop to another place last summer vacation. As I visited his workplace and actually saw him working, I realized that he works all by himself. Because I go to school, I had never seen my father working before. This time, I saw my father working closely for the first time. He runs a shop, but did not employ anyone because he wanted to save up. The shop was very hot, and I felt sorry for him when I thought about him working alone in the shop, which did not even have an air conditioner. All I could do for him was to help him move heavy stuff, take water to him, cleaning and moving the fan in the shop to make him feel cool. As I helped my father, I was able to experience to use equipment I have never seen before. I watched him and learn some works even though I was clumsy. Although I worked with my father to help him out, I have been putting limits to myself thinking I could only do simple things. However, I learned a lot watching my father work and gain knowledge. As I tried works I have never done before, I realized that I can do it if I challenge myself. Whenever I faced burdensome situations, I always tend to avoid them and thought, I cannot do it. I thought negatively and often easily gave up. However, I had a change of heart and I now think that I can do it if I challenge myself and learn. My negative mind has changed into a positive mind. I was able to have this mind watching my father working alone, calmly thinking over the problems and solving them. What I also learned from helping my father was that I used to think the allowance I used to receive was too little, but now I am thankful. Just as how I was able to have a thankful heart through my father, I hope that you can also have a change of mind through a person you respect. Moreover, I hope you can have a positive mind before failures and difficulties in life, and think you can also do it. Thank you.
Next is contestant number 12, Mi. The title is Don't Ask My Age.
How old are you? This question, which could be embarrassing in different cultures, is very common for Koreans, even when we just met. For linguistic and cultural reasons, age is an important factor in human relations in Korean society. We usually find it difficult to start a conversation and build a further relationship without knowing the age of the other party. The Korean language differentiates the words used when speaking to someone older and younger. In addition, an individual's title and the way of addressing people are determined based on one's age relative to others. It is said that a mix of Confucianism and a historical background has generated a rigid hierarchy system based on age, a unique age culture of Korean society. Age defines an individual's roles and responsibilities, and they have expected etiquette to observe. Since relational superiors usually have authority and respect and obedience are required accordingly, questioning their power and opinions are considered ill-mannered. It is surprising that at school, children are often forced to use honorifics to their seniors just by a year, and even kids use age when they want to get upper hand in relationships. This shows how pervasively Korean society is influenced by the hierarchical age culture. In an interview, Chano Park, who was a Major League Baseball player, mentioned the team meeting atmosphere in US, where all the players said their opinions freely, regardless of their positions and ages, unlike Korea. I was surprised at that, since I have never experienced a culture that is not based on a hierarchy system, which I'm jealous of. I luckily had a chance to work with a professional play team of an organization when in high school. I wrote play scripts there, but no one there recognized me as a writer, just because I was young, and I didn't dare to say my opinions and ideas about scripts to them. I felt like I was there just to run errands for them. When I read about the friendship in France between 19-year-old boy and 70-year-old lady who had met on an online game, it sounded quite refreshing to me. We usually call someone of our age a friend, not of the same interest or who we can share heart with. Looks like this hierarchical age culture significantly limits our relationship with others, deterring communication across different age groups. It also prevents us from seeing people the way they are. I read an interesting article about the high school teacher who suggested that his students not use honorifics when speaking to him. Although it could be against Korean sentiment, his attempt to build an equal relationship with his students was really impressive, and it is said that the communication between them has improved since then. Why should we necessarily use honorifics based on age? Why should we respect someone because of something external that does not tell you who they really are? Why should we let age limit our relationship? How about asking what they like when you meet people instead of asking their age? How about seeing me as just Jumi, not 19-year-old Jumi? We could make our relationship with others much richer and communication much deeper in that way. And our society could be much more flexible and healthier. Thank you.
Next is contestant number 13, Gu Eun Sung. The title is Glass Bottle of Sprite.
I think a lot of people have already read Paulo Coelho's Alchemist or have heard the title. The book's main character, Santiago, goes on a trip to search for treasure, going through deserts and leaving for Egypt to get what he's looking for. Everyone, do you know where Santiago found the treasure? Unexpectedly, there was his hometown, at the local church that was close to where he lived originally. Just as Santiago purchased treasure, everyone purchased happiness. I think I used to think that happiness would finally start if I got to college. But when I eventually got to college, I felt an indescribable feeling something was lacking. Because of that, I went to Ghana, Africa, to find happiness to fill my heart. When I first arrived in Ghana, its environment was very different from Korea, and it was amazing. The pineapples, they were so delicious, and it was fun to talk to the Ghanaians in English. However, as I got used to life there again, I thought, there's not much of the happiness I'm looking for here as well. I found it hard to expect better things like joy or happiness to happen. Samuel, my friend in Ghana, often came to me to try and help me have some fun. Though I don't know if he knows how I felt. Eun-sung, why are you depressed today? He would ask. Let's hang out together. Do you want a Sprite? He gave me a Sprite in an unclean recycled glass bottle. So I looked at Samuel with a bright smile, but respectfully declined, saying, it's okay, Samuel, don't mind me. But one day, I felt chills all over my body and began to feel dizzy. So I went to the hospital and was diagnosed with malaria. I felt as if I was in the middle of both life and death for 4 days. Many people in Africa die of malaria, so I thought that this was how I was going to die. Even if I tried to move my body, I didn't have enough strength. At the moment, Samuel knocked at the door, worried. He offered me a Sprite and asked if I was fine. I was so touched and found it funny that until now, he offers me a Sprite. And I began to shed tears of gratitude. This time, the Sprite tasted so cool and delicious. As I was drinking the Sprite, I remembered people that I had met with before who treated me with love. Many friends in Ghana couldn't buy it what they wanted because they didn't have enough money to. But lots of them still bought kinds of fruits, snacks, and especially Ghana original ice cream for me because they truly worried about me. My family and friends in Korea are also very precious to me. I thought happiness was to achieve some goals and experience something special and exotic. But finding my friend's heart found in a bottle of Sprite awakened true happiness that I was seeking. The happiness that I was thought was so distant, but was truly close. Just as Santiago in the book Alchemist turned from his journey and came back to square one to find happiness nearby him, I also learned that happiness is nothing but the exchange of the hearts with the people close to me. I take this opportunity to thank Samuel, who handed me his heart and this bottle of Sprite. Thank you.
Next is contestant number 14, Kim Jong-un. The title is Me and I.
There are two different words you often use when you're describing yourself, me and I. What is the difference between these two words? They have both the same meaning, but one is a subject pronoun and the other is an object pronoun. I and me are both used when referring to myself, but I is me from my point of view, and me means me in the point of view of others. From the first day I started using social media, I found myself always worrying about how many likes I would get on a post and the reaction I would receive. That day, I took a picture wearing a pretty dress with the flowers in the background and putting a bright smile on my face. Although it seems like I was happy in the picture, I was not. I was having a terrible day because I've lost my cell phone, dropped my laptop which broke, and the deadline for submitting assignments has passed. All this happened in one day. Words cannot describe how tormented I felt. After all that happened, coincidentally while walking by, I came across this eye-catching place where I ended up taking a picture out of habit. I then decided to upload it on my social media account and pretended to be happy while smiling. It did get a lot of likes. However, that was when I truly felt social media is contradictory. After using social media for a while, instead of eating in my favorite Sundays restaurant, I would find myself searching for a famous pasta restaurant instead. I went to a cafe where pictures came out nice. After a while of social media, I was confused about why I was using social media. Then I saw a friend who posted her personal story on social media. After seeing the friend who posted freely without worrying about the side of the others, I tried to post my own daily life on a private account. On the public account, I have to think about the way I lot, how other people would think of me. I would always put all of these factors into deep thought. I used to hesitate and rethink hundreds of times for one picture, but in a private account, I could just be me. One day, I came to realize that I had more stories and pictures uploaded in my private account and figured it was who I was. I, as in I am the only one me in the world. My life and preferences are worth respecting, but I wanted to be seen as a witty person, someone who is having a good life, happy in life. So I had no pictures or writings I would possibly like to upload. As I thought only about how people would think of me, I was losing the colors of my own personality, I respect and love myself and will now express who I am rather than me. I love the fashion floral blouses. I sometimes cry after a fight with my mom and pretended to be strong in front of other people. But when I come home, I find myself having a lot of doubts. That's who I am.
Thank you. Now we're done with the first part of the contest. Please give the contestants for such an excellent speeches a big round of applause. So at this time, we're going to have a 10-minute break and we will move on to the second part of the contest once we come back. Ladies and gentlemen, the second half of the contest is about to begin shortly, so please come into the hall and be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the second half of the contest is about to begin shortly, so please come into the hall and be seated. Now we will begin the second half of the contest. Our first contestant for the second half is contestant number 15, Park Hye-kang. The title is Draw Your Dream.
What's your dream? I couldn't easily answer this question, which I've heard countless times since I was young. It's not that I didn't want to do anything. There was a time when I wanted to be a dancer, dancing beautifully on stage, and a chef who makes customers happy with delicious dishes. At times, I want to be a police officer or surgeon. But I asked myself again, am I talented in dancing? There are so many great dancers. Cooking academy is so expensive. Will my parents support me? The military academic exam is too hard. I'm not good at sports either. Many conditions are needed to achieve your dream. Talent, economic support, physical strength, and passion are also required. Nothing seemed to be satisfying. The dreams I had seemed too luxurious. And eventually, I got into a university which fit my grades. By chance, I went abroad to Ghana, Africa. Once I went to a small area called Swedru in Ghana and taught children's dance for a month. The children practiced with all their might to participate in the children's dance competition. But most of children, they had to carry heavier things on their head to make money, do business, or take care of their younger sibling on behalf of their parents. So it was hard to gather and practice. Moreover, there was no place to practice. So I saw them rehearsing on the street or in the dirt yard. Normally, when it rained, we would search for the shelter. However, they were different. They would dance freely under the rain and they didn't seem to matter. There were many difficult situations, but the children always enjoyed practicing, saying, "Teacher, we will definitely win first place." Finally, it was the day of the competition. We won second place and the children cheered. After the competition, I spoke with a child named Erica. Erica, aren't you sad that we came in second place? What do you think? But Erica said something unexpected. Teacher, I don't think we got second place. We won second place today, but we are going to win first place until the end and until we get it. Teacher, we are already at the first place. I saw Erica's clear picture of winning the dance competition. The picture was drawn with the belief that it would come true, and the children were beautifully coloring the picture of dreams even in difficult situations. I thought it took a lot of conditions to achieve my dreams, but I found that I never drew a picture in my mind with faith. These days, I'm also drawing a new picture in my heart. It is to focus more in the information and communication field and Ghana's IT industry. Like Wi-Fi in Korea, I want to build an internet environment in Ghana so that people can use it without feeling burdened on the internet cost. If I search for the conditions in my current situation, it seems like a first dream. But now, I don't want to give up as before. Like Erica's belief that the Swedru children will win in the dance competition even in difficult environments, I will continue to paint my dreams with faith. Thank you.
Next is contestant number 16, Ho Sung-il. The contestant, the title is Strength of Character.
Everyone, a war broke out in the world of animals. The lion is the general, and the animals flocked from every side. They looked at each other and whispered pathetically, "What can those ants do? They are too weak. Look at the carrot rabbit. Can she even lift a sword? Or elephant? Those enemies can't see him from anywhere unless they are blind." At that moment, the lion shouted, "Silence! Ants are not easily seen, so they will be sent as spies. The rabbit has swift feet, so she will be a messenger. Elephant is strong, so he will be carrying war supplies." Under the command of General Lion, animals began to turn their shortcomings into advantages. As a result of fighting desperately, without anyone making fun of each other, they successfully kicked out animals from the enemy country. When I was in my second year of high school, there was a sports competition at school. The first game was tug of war. All of my friends looked confident. Beep! The whistle went off and we pulled the rope as hard as we could. But no matter how hard we pulled, we kept getting dragged away. After losing like that, we lost morale and lost the second game too. We thought we would win without losing once, but we lost. At the time, a friend suddenly yelled at another friend, "Hey, can't you get one right timing? You mind your business." Then they began to argue each other. We were all angry because of our losses. At the time, our teacher said, "Boys, blaming each other for their mistakes is meaningless now. I hope you see good point rather than bad point upon your friends. Let's enjoy the rest of the match." So we gathered and prepared for the next soccer match by acknowledging each other as teacher said. We shouted, "Let's go for it," and started playing soccer. At the end of the game, we ended up winning by 2 points. If we didn't like the tug of war match, we would go, "You are too slow," or "You are too small," and the team would have been divided up. However, we changed our view and it's different. "You are slow, but strong. You are small, but agile." This was how we turned each other's shortcomings into strengths and won the match. Everyone, do you want to hide or avoid your weaknesses or shortcomings? When I was young, I used to get stressed because of my short height. But I totally changed my mind through the competition. After that, my height, which I thought was a weakness, was actually a strength. Because I was short, I was able to learn swiftly when I was doing sports activities. It also allows me to stand in front of a line while taking a picture. Not everyone around the world is perfect. However, there are people who have had success by overcoming their weaknesses, like Mark Zuckerberg, who developed SNS due to his lack of communication skills, and Winnie Harlow, who has vitiligo but turned it into her own symbol. If you have any weaknesses, try to change them into a strength. Your weaknesses will be an important stepping stone for you to take advantage of your strength. From now on, I'm also going to change my weaknesses to strengths. Thank you.
Next is contestant number 17, Kim Sung-min. The title is Shield of My Emotions.
I'm okay. This means that someone is in a very good condition. Whenever anyone asks me how I was, I always smiled and replied, "I'm okay." People thought of me as a person who always laughed well and was lively. But for me, those words acted as a kind of shield because I didn't want to make a scene. Even though it was not true, I would say it's okay and try my best not to reveal the feelings I wanted to hide from everyone. Ever since I was in my second year of high school, I have lived alone because my family's financial situation wasn't that great. I started my social life earlier than others by working part-time jobs. Of course, there were many difficulties I faced while studying and working at the same time. But I worked harder than ever, expressing my responsibility as the eldest son. However, as more and more time passed, the burden and responsibility in my heart grew, and I wasn't able to express this part of me at all. This was because my parents always thanked me saying, "Your younger brother can study at a good school, all thanks to you." I thought that if I say I'm having a hard time or talk about my heavy heart, it would only be a pressure to my family. And if I say I'm okay, everyone could be happy. So I continued just smiling, leaving the scars on my hurt behind. As if there was no problem, I lived by saying and acting differently from my hurt. However, as time passed, the burdens and responsibilities gradually suppressed me, and my hurt became devastated. And soon after, I got the illness called depression and panic disorder. But even while receiving psychiatric treatment, I didn't say a word to my parents. I tried to overcome it by comparing myself, saying, "It's hard, but I'm okay, right?" But I was already at my limits mentally and physically, and I didn't have the strength to endure any longer. It was then when I got a text message from my mom. "Sungmin, you're having a hard time, right? I'm really thankful for what you have done." The text was like a flying dagger and stuck in my heart. I called my mom right away. "Mom, I'm not okay at all. I'm actually undergoing psychiatric treatment." I talk about the difficulties that have been pressing my heart. My mom comforted me almost as though she had been waiting for my story, saying, "You've worked hard so far." And at that moment, I had the peace that I've never felt before when I became someone who has difficulties and someone who doesn't have to meet the standards. I was able to throw away the cover of a good son who only says it's okay. Through this, my mental illness was healed. From that day, my depression and panic disorder have come to an end because I realized that hiding myself is not the answer for solving my problems. I began to talk more about my hurt, saying, "Hey, I'm having a hard time. Can you give me a hand?" I had more communication with my parents from my heart, which led me to a joyful life. Many people want to hide their weaknesses and do not want to talk about what's in their heart. But I hope you to know, once you bring out what's in your heart, there is not the initial footstep to happiness, not misery. If you still have something remaining in your heart, just to bring out, you will find more peace and joy. Thank you.
Next is contestant number 18, Kim Hee-jin. The title is The True Give and Take.
잘한다.
3 years ago, I went to the United States for overseas volunteer work. One day, we had a chance to go to Nelson House, one of the First Nations villages. We knocked on the doors from house to house with anticipation to promote the event upon our arrival. However, when the door of the first house was opened, I smelled something strange. What kind of smell is this? I didn't know at first, but it turned out to be a smell from drugs. I moved on and knocked on the door of another house. Then an older woman who was still hungover came out. Most of the houses were like this, except for a few. On the first day of the event, we watched wonderful performances, and it was time for character education. When a lecture began, several students started to wander around or go out the door, lie down in the lobby, and cause a scene. As I looked at those students, I became exhausted and thought, should I prepare for the event until late at night for said students? Next day, I was an usher, and one of the students who had caused a scene yesterday caused trouble again. He kept insisting that he sit outside, and I insisted that he sit inside first, so we quarreled. Our side of venue became noisy, and everyone watched us. I did not know what to do with him. But then a branch manager came to us. He figured out the situation and said, "We usually have people sit from the inside, but let these students sit where they want to sit." I did not understand him. After the event for the day was over, I went and spoke to the branch manager. I don't know why we have to work so hard for a student like that. At the time, he smiled and said, "Hee-jin, how many hours did we drive being stuck in the same posture without sleeping properly for 3 days we traveled to this village?" Unlike you, I came to this village last year and the year before, and I have watched the students every year for the past 5 years. When I see the students change little by little each time they come to this camp, they are so precious, and I'm thrilled to see them. You can choose to live only for yourself. You can also choose to care for someone else and live. But if you live for other people, you can feel true happiness. I was able to look back on myself after listening to the branch manager. I had given people to take what I want before. After the conversation with the branch manager, I gave what those students needed first and began to listen to them. When I did that, I could take fun from every day of the event. On the last day of the camp, I saw the student who had quarreled with me at the beginning, sitting in the inner row. The student who I thought would never change was with us, laughing, and became very different from his first day. At the time, I could understand the branch manager's words. The students are precious. I learned for the first time there that when other people are happy, I can be happy as well. Give your heart and take the happiness. I hope you can experience the true give and take as well. Thank you for listening.
Next is contestant number 19, Yoon Seung-hyun. The title is Who Are You?
What? Do I have something on my hair, my clothes? Am I too fat for these jeans? These are the questions I've been asking myself since forever. I bet you all do. And it's fine. But it is problematic if you listen to those comments, judgments, and let them define your everything. I once was the exact example of the problematic case. I hated my face, my physical figure, and even my personality. I hated everything about myself, and I was just 10. One day, professor asked me if there's any problem going on in my home in front of the whole class. No, that's how I replied. And even if there was, how would the 10-year-old know? Anyway, she said that I hit the bottom of my class. She hit the bottom of my fragile self-esteem tower. At home, I was crying as my heart was about to burst, crouching in front of the mirror, punching my reflection with my fist. My fist and my eyes hurt awfully, but less than my heart. After a few days later, my family moved to Fiji Island. At the first day in school in Singatoka, it took for almost 30 minutes to say, "What is your name?" to my sit partner, Michelle, pondering if there's any grammar errors. But when I came back to Korea, English was embedded in my heart warmly. Throughout my whole trip in Fiji, I never thought that the way to express my feelings to Michelle and to every other people I interacted with was the subject to English, that boring English I know. Back in school in Korea, I was asking myself the questions I mentioned above while my new professor was introducing me to my class. One boy whispered quietly, "What's up with their man pants?" Unfortunately, it needed to be quieter. But at that moment, without a doubt, I answered to my silly question simply inside. So what if I have something on my hair? What if I'm wearing boxy pants? My friendship with Michelle, my courage learned from my sister, my responsibility like my parents define who I am. Not that disrespectful question he threw without a thought. His words define how uneducated he is about manners, not me. And that moment, though I didn't say a word outside, was the most memorable second in my life. Society didn't change, just my thoughts made me that bravest 1 second with proud. Of course, that short moment couldn't magically make me who I am now as Cinderella. I faltered, I fell, thinking so many questions like, what if my English skills aren't good enough? But whenever I felt as lacking, my mother told me, enough is a word that needs a standard. You've been enough since the day you were born in my standard. And if you're worried that you might not be good enough like your group members, stop. You're in that group because you are enough and you've earned it. That's your accomplishment. So here I am, still asking the questions I started with, but none of your words can even touch me now because your words define who you are. And my published books, my YouTube channel, and so on, which are my accomplishments, define who I am. Who are you? Ask yourself, not someone else. Thank you.
Next is contestant number 20, Shin Hye-jin. The title is My Smartphone Doesn't Control Me Anymore.
Have you ever heard the term youngtimers? As native English speakers, most of you probably don't recognize this word. Young Koreans recently came up with this word. It is a combination of young and Alzheimer's. We used to think only old people develop this disease, but these days, even young people have begun getting this type of disease. Recent medical studies have shown a significant decline in cognitive memory ability and lower IQs in young people, and the effects are much worse in children, including brain cancer. Do you know why? Too much smartphone usage. The internet is the fastest developing technology around, and your smartphone allows you instant access to it from almost anywhere. You don't have to go out to meet people or do activities that you like. It can all be done online. Through YouTube and SNS, you can be the star if you want to. A lot of people make videos of cooking, dancing, just about anything you can think of. They post their videos to get lots of followers so that they can become YouTube stars. From little kids to old people, everyone seems to have a smartphone these days. I found out that Korea is number 2 in the world in using SNS. You can see people on the bus or in restaurants sitting across from each other, looking at their phones. Rather than call people, they just send messages. Have you noticed that everybody walking on the street seems to have a phone in their hand? There is a great wall between family members called smartphone, and I used to be one of these people. I would watch YouTube until 3 a.m. every day. At first, I would say, I'm only going to watch it until 10 o'clock, then I will do my assignment. But I never kept that promise. So my school life was always messed up, turning in my assignments late, and even late getting to school. I'm sure many of you know what I'm talking about. I didn't know I was addicted to smartphones. If I didn't have it, I got nervous. And even when I tried to focus on studying, I had to check my SNS. In the beginning, it was fun, but eventually it took away my concentration, ability to memorize effectively, and my social life. I had to do something. I couldn't live like that. So I really tried to control using my phone, YouTube, and SNS. At first, it was very difficult, but I kept doing it, and my grades improved. I started exercising, and most importantly, I began reconnecting with my family. Do any of you have a problem like I had? Don't try to stop cold turkey. Even if only 30 minutes or 1 hour a day, gradually keep adding, and you will notice the difference in your life. Human beings thrive on social interaction, and human nature needs it. Don't let smartphones take away our memories and what it is that makes us human. Thank you.
Next is contestant number 21, Lee Na-yoon. The title is Whose Life is Expendable.
In the future, it will be illegal for people to drive their own cars because it's too dangerous. This is what Tesla CEO Elon Musk said during a speech. But even though 4IR is happening now, is this a practical statement? Self-driving cars, which we used to only see in sci-fi movies, are becoming a reality. In fact, many companies such as Volkswagen, Tesla, and Waymo are introducing cars equipped with autonomous driving functions. Specifically, self-driving cars have a very convenient function that informs you when you drift, automatically stops when it detects a pedestrian, and automatically moves when the car in front departs. Thanks to these functions, self-driving cars have the following benefits. First, it has the effect of reducing traffic accident deaths. Sleepy drivers account for a large percentage of traffic accidents, but self-driving cars move on their own, allowing drivers to sleep soundly without worrying about accidents. Second, efficiency. Because the cars can move on their own, they are more likely to be shared rather than sitting in a parking lot. If anyone needs a car, it can be used like a taxi, but without a driver. Isn't that amazing? You can also focus on other important things while traveling. However, there is a serious disadvantage too, the moral dilemma. Let's take a look at this situation. A self-driving car is moving at 70 kilometers per hour when 3 people suddenly step into the road. The car instantly processes the information and concludes there isn't enough time to stop. So the only option is to swerve and avoid them. However, it will put the car's passenger in a life-threatening position. From the manufacturer's point of view, if it develops software prioritizing driver and passenger safety, it would be criticized for failing to bear the social responsibility that companies have to bear to keep the public safe. On the other hand, if the algorithm is designed to put pedestrians first, who would want to ride in that car? In general, passenger injury rate is higher than that of the driver in a traffic accident. This is because the driver instinctively manipulates the car in the direction of protecting himself, but he isn't held responsible for these consequences. However, self-driving cars that can perform complex calculations in an instant cannot be exempted as if they were human. So what's the solution? This really isn't an issue of self-driving cars, but of how humans design the AI's judgment protocols. Vehicle and operating system development are up to the programmers and businesses, but it's up to society to set the standard. We need a public forum to provide a moral compass for the safety protocols the AI would use in protecting human life, not judging which life is expendable. Unfortunately, there are no simple solutions to this catch-22 situation. Much more study needs to be done. So I believe making it illegal to drive your own car should not be considered until a reasonable compromise is reached and this ethical problem is solved. Thank you.
Next is contestant number 22, Son Ye-jin. The title is Resilience, the Strength to Overcome.
Resilience, which means a strong resistance against stress or hardship you may face. In 2020, I met the worst enemy of my life, ringworm. Ringworm is a common skin infection caused by a fungus. It is circular in shape and looks like a ring. I was in Jamaica at the time, and the weather there is very humid and hot. There were a lot of ringworm rashes on my legs, and they were oozing a liquid discharge. But even though it was so hot, I had to keep my legs wrapped in towels. The most difficult time was when I had to change clothes. It hurt so much because a discharge caused my skin to stick to my clothes. It actually made things worse. I took medicine, but nothing helped. I was in agony. Because of my condition, I couldn't even eat delicious Jamaican chicken and it made me cry. My resilience was 0 at the time. In March of this year, I returned to Korea and went back to school. My skin disease disappeared for a while, but then it started all over again. But I had so many things to do. I study a lot because I'm a double major. I have to go out and interview people. I teach Korean to foreigners, and I MC special events, so I couldn't take care of the infection properly. Everything happened at the same time, so it seemed like a tsunami hit me. I really wanted to give up on everything. So I went to my professor for advice. He said, "Don't ever give up. Instead, prioritize what's most important to least important." I did exactly as a professor advised, and I finally finished my first semester. I even received a scholarship too. When the summer break started, I wanted to spend my time wisely, so I joined an online program for multicultural families as a staff member. I went to different places to make videos of Korean landmarks and cooking videos for the program. During all of this, I also had to teach Korean to over 100 foreigners. I was so busy that I didn't notice that my skin infection was gone. Now, I can wear the clothes I want, eat what I want, and best of all, I can stretch my legs while I sleep. One of my favorite quotes comes from a person I respect, Sheryl Sandberg, the COO of Facebook. She said, "When the challenges come, I hope you remember that deep within you is the ability to learn and grow. You were not born with a fixed amount of resilience. It's a muscle. You can build it up and then draw on it when you need it. And in that process, you figure out who you really are, and you just might become the very best version of yourself." She spoke these words in a graduation speech to the graduates of the University of California, Berkeley in 2016. As I mentioned in the beginning, my resilience level was 0. But after I went through the process, just like Cheryl said, now my resilience muscle is strong and is there whenever I need it. Thank you.
Next is contestant number 23, Choi Won-tae. The title is Smash Against the Negatives, Ping Pong Mind.
Ping pong, the game that two players play by hitting the ball to each other using a small hand paddle. The match takes place on a small table, but it is fast and intense and keeps the crowd on the edge of their seat. I have played many ping pong games, but my fiercest match was in Sri Lanka. On April 21st, 2019, something heartbreaking happened in Sri Lanka. Islamic terrorists bombed a few churches and hotels, and more than 300 people lost their lives. After that, me and my colleagues planned to organize a healing concert for the people, and we needed sponsors for the concert. We contacted many companies through email and in-person meetings, but all we heard was, "Sorry, but we can't help you." One day, I had a meeting with the marketing manager of NDB, which was one of the biggest banks in Sri Lanka. But like always, the answer was no. Walking out the bank, I thought deeply about why I couldn't get any sponsors. Is it because I'm incompetent? Suddenly, one message came to my mind. Whatever negative thoughts block you, just smash them out, like in ping pong. Challenging once more whenever you want to give up. That decides success. I easily gave up whenever I met a crisis. And when I gave up, nothing happened. For the first time in my life, I decided to smash my negative thoughts out. I turned around, went to the front desk, and asked where the CEO's office was, and headed right to the office.
There was a guard standing in front of the office. Should I give up? The bigger the negative thoughts, the smaller I became. But I decided to smash those negative thoughts once more. I passed by the guard and ran. He shouted at me to stop. I was really scared, and every fiber of my being was screaming at me to stop and give up, but I couldn't. I was playing a ping pong game with my negative thoughts. I opened the door, and there was an angry executive yelling at me. I decided to fight back. I said, "Ma'am, please relax and listen to me." It wasn't easy for me to run past the guard, but because I was so desperate to help Sri Lankans with our concert. Surprisingly, her anger melted away. As an apology, I sang the Sri Lankan song, Malata Bambare Kuse. Suddenly, a miracle happened. 4 elevators suddenly opened and all the bank executives stepped out. Also, the CEO was there. I asked for sponsorship directly from the CEO, and in the end, we had a healing concert sponsored by the biggest bank in Sri Lanka. It's been 3 years since I left Sri Lanka, but I still can't forget what I felt in NDB. Through this experience, I realized that success depends on challenging once more when you want to give up. Now we are living in a world with many situations that try to weaken us and whisper, "Give up." But whenever you hear the whisper, I hope you will remember my story. Thank you.
Next is contestant number 24, Lee Sang-hun. The title is A Life Lesson Worth $30.
It was the first official day of summer break, and I was finally free to go home. Bye-bye teachers, bye-bye assignments, bye-bye due dates, and most of all, goodbye exam. I made my way to the bus terminal, and while waiting, I decided to use the restroom. When a stranger approached me and said, "Hey kid, mind if I borrow $30? And as any normal person would have answered, I said, no. But he asked again, "Please, no one else is helping me out. I really need it. And I don't have any money on me right now." He paused, smiled, and continued saying, "I need to get home. I really don't have any money on me. And this isn't a scam. I promise I'll pay you back as soon as I can." I hesitated a bit and took a brief moment to think about what to do. But I eventually decided to help him out. I went to a nearby ATM and gave him $30. As he took down my phone number, I had to hurry my way to the bus. On the ride home, I feel strange. Was I fooled? Did I just lose $30? It seemed honest. I should have taken down his number. He'll call when he's ready. And in the back of my mind, I waited for him to call. But weeks passed with no call. Thinking deeply about it, I got so angry at myself for being so dumb. I told myself, goodwill makes you a fool in this world. After that day, I decided not to give people the benefit of the doubt and to just mind my own business. I promised myself to never get scammed like that ever again. It seems like a sensible decision, right? Mind my own business, don't care for others, have the upper end, and don't lose anything. However, as time passed, I felt I had changed. I felt myself being indifferent to the people around me. I began to have a habit of ignoring calls from those I didn't need anything from. Unanswered calls and unread messages were piling up on my phone, and eventually, I lost contact with most of my friends. One day, a friend called me saying, "Hey, what are you up to these days? You didn't even reach out to me on my birthday. Is everything all right?" I could feel his disappointment over the phone. When I looked around, I didn't have many people left to talk to. Where was all the warmth and joy in my life? Right then, I realized I had done something wrong. There's a Korean saying which goes, "People are property." When I decided to cut people off of my life, I lost more property, more money, and most of all, lost more important people. And all this because of $30. Come to think of it, there aren't many people around me who have caused damage or placed a bad influence on me. Actually, there are many more good people who truly care for me. Trusting my own thoughts have damaged my life more than the stranger at the bus terminal. Even if you've been in an accident of fire or water, you still cannot live without those elements. In the same way, even though someone has hurt me, I can't live without people in my life. I need my family and my friends to love and be loved back. There is no greater loss than blocking out the people who love and care for you. This is a life lesson worth $30 to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is contestant number 25, Kim Bo-ra. The title is Hit the Jackpot.
A middle-aged man is easily fishing shoes inside a container. His upper body is charred and healthy, but his lower body is disabled with uneven bones. And next to him, a beautiful middle-aged woman who came back from grocery shop, but harmoniously talking with one another. After some time, the woman leaves, and an elder lady questions the man, asking, "Is the woman your wife?" "Yes, she is my wife. Isn't she beautiful?" The elderly woman looks shocked and once again looks at the middle-aged woman. Then she asks again, "Wow, you're so lucky. You hit the jackpot. Do you have children too?" "Of course, we have 3 daughters and 2 of them are already married." "You hit the jackpot. You really hit the jackpot." Everyone saw the man as a poor person and pitied him for his physical disability. But in fact, he was the happiest man with a loving home. And that happiest man is my father. My father has a second-degree disability and cannot move without a wheelchair. And for the past 11 years, he has worked in a container as a shoe repairman, even during the hottest day of summer and coldest day of winter. In addition, he lives as an orphan after his parents passed away when he was young, and his sisters abandoned him because of his disability. Nevertheless, are you curious as to why my father and my family had no choice but to be happy? The reason why my father was able to happily live just was because of his positive thinking. Despite the difficulties he faced, he is a great man who overcame them with positivity. There's something my father always told us. He would always say, "That's no big deal." No matter the circumstance, he would always positively say, "That's no big deal." When my family was very poor, there was a time I really wanted to eat sweet and sour pork. Even though we couldn't afford to buy it, my father said, "That's no big deal. We can make sweet and sour pork ourselves." In saying that, he bought some cheap ingredients. So we have this memory of happily making and eating sweet and sour pork. Being poor encouraged my father to think positive, and this became a precious memory to us. By giving positive thoughts rather than negative thoughts, he led us to see the world in a happy and positive manner. As the result of this, I am now a person who sees the world more positive than anyone else, and I highly respect my father. Positive thought has tremendous power. My father may be disabled, but he made our family of 5 the happiest family. Are you pitying me for having a disabled father? No, I hit the jackpot. I hit the jackpot because I had the best and coolest father ever. I hope that under any circumstance, you will have the power to think positive and live a life where you hit the jackpot too. Thank you.
Next is contestant number 26, Lee Tae-hee. The title is Amortentia.
Hello everyone, my name is Tae Lee and I'll begin my speech. Abracadabra, hocus pocus. Listen carefully. Now I'll cast a spell upon you and by the end of the speech, you'll all be smiling, nodding, and will have learned an important lesson. Let me begin. You may have heard of a phrase like, reading changes people, or something like, reading makes a great deal in our lives. It usually means that reading changes one's personality, or is helpful in deciding one's future, or leads someone's life in the right direction. In my case, it's much more than that. In fact, after I was enchanted by this magic, it changed my perspective on books, how I read books, and how I enjoy books and movies. This magic, which is an invisible powerful spell in the form of a book, is called Harry Potter. I started reading the novel in the 3rd grade in elementary school and finished it in a year. While I was having fun with books, I also started watching movies. Harry Potter movie is one of the few that are really close to the book, so I really enjoyed it as much as the book. Even now, I still watch them often, though I memorize most of the lines. There's even a huge movie poster next to my bed. How I got the poster is quite a story. 2 years ago in December, I went on a trip to Europe alone. Really, the biggest reason I wanted to go to England was to find traces of Harry Potter, since England was the birthplace of it. First, I went to several filming locations such as King's Cross Station, Millennium Bridge, and Oxford University. Also, I went to Harry Potter studio, which shows you how they made the movies. I bought the poster there and brought it all the way to my home. Lastly, I went to a theater to watch a play based on one of the books. As you see, I'm really into this book and movie. One of the things that are on my bucket list is to travel around the world and go to places that are related to Harry Potter. I've done so many things besides what I've said before. Once, I went to Seoul to watch a film concert. A film concert is a performance in which the orchestra plays the music whenever the OST is played, with a movie playing on the big screen behind it. Also, I often enjoy listening to classic music, including the movie OST. In fact, I think the reason I started listening to classics is because of the Harry Potter music. Listening to Harry Potter music still gives me goosebumps, though I've heard it for 1,000 times. Even my ringtone is one of them. Sometimes I imagine how my life would have changed if this Harry Potter magic didn't exist on Earth. How would it be different from now? I think the life for me would be a lot less fun, would feel something like a big hole in my deep, deep heart. Finishing my speech, I would like to suggest a very important lesson to you that might help you to overcome the coronavirus. These days, the opportunity to dream and do things you want to do has decreased. Why don't you take this as an opportunity to find books that you truly love and enjoy it? Actually, there's one thing I haven't told you yet. The title of my speech is Amortentia, which is the most powerful love potion in Harry Potter. If you find a book that you truly love, it'll be like reading after drinking the potion. The books that you truly love never, never leaves you. Thank you for listening to my speech.
Next is contestant number 27, Lee Hyun-ho. The title is The Way to Love Myself.
I used to be a person who didn't share my pains or fears with others. I thought talking about myself is just like showing my weaknesses. I was always harsh on myself and pushed me to the limits as if I'm standing on the edge of a cliff. I was scared that people let me fall from the top to the bottom. So I created an invisible wall around myself to protect me and hide from everyone, including parents, brothers, friends, and etc. However, as you can see me here, I'm not who I was sharp, who didn't know how to communicate with people. And how is it possible? My mother and BTS, yes, a world-famous singer, served as an important momentum to turn me into a person who can stand on my dignity. Since I was young, I've been responsible for taking care of my younger brother because my parents have to make a living. I was young, and he was too. I had to help him do his homework, deal with fan problems, and so on. As time goes by, stress, and pressure got me stacked and overflowed because I thought everything should be done perfectly. At which point, I found myself that I started coming out of my room and talking to nobody. Luckily, despite my aggressive behaviors, my mother kept knocking on my door again, then again, then again. Hostility as an adolescent and burdens of responsibility has shut in my comfort zone. Although I was bad to her, she never gave up. She knocked every day until I opened it. One day she said, "Hey, I think you should practice being stupid, doing nothing, and taking out your burden sometimes. Stop thinking about being perfect. You're only responsible for yourself, not for the others or the world." She tried to communicate with me no matter how bad I was to her. Empathy and understanding were the powers of my mothers. What I needed the most was to be recognized as I was, and my mother saw through me. Whenever I feel difficult, what comforted my heart is music, especially songs of BTS. One of the songs that touched my heart is Paradise. It says, "It's alright to stop. You don't need to run without knowing why. It's alright not to have any dreams if you have moments where you can feel happy." From this lyric, they taught me that running forward is not the only answer. Take time, look around, and think that I'm doing the right things. From the song, "Answer Love Myself," it says, "Loving myself might be harder than loving someone else. The standards make me strict with myself. Trust myself when in a maze. When winter passes, spring always comes." Whenever I struggle or feel lost, I listen to their songs and pull myself together. They make me understand how foolish it is to flop on the ground and think negatively. Sometimes we don't see our true self because of social stereotype, obsession manipulated by society, or even by ourselves. I learned to love myself from understanding of my mother and empathy from BTS. After I love myself, confidence, self-esteem, and positive thoughts become mine. I found my own way to retrieve my dignity. So, what is yours? Thank you.
Now, this is the last contestant for today's contest. Contestant number 28, 최예지. The title is How to Be Good at Being Bad.
Today, I would like to share my experience of learning how to play a guitar. I had my first guitar lesson when I was 14. I still remember the excitement of holding the guitar for the first time. I couldn't wait to play a piece with this beautiful, curvy instrument. Unfortunately, playing a guitar wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. It was hard for me to quickly switch through from one chord to another. While I was struggling with one chord, the song will move on to the next chord and the next, leaving me behind. As I stopped playing and looked around, I could see the whole class, except for me, playing in perfect sync. My middle school music teacher, Mrs. Lee, soon found out that I was falling behind. She decided that I needed a special lesson. She made me play the guitar in front of the classroom. If I struggled or failed to play a chord right away, she kicked me. Yes, she would kick me in the shin hard with her pointy heels. All eyes were on me when this happened, but no one said anything about it, because all of my classmates, including me, thought that was what you deserve for being a slow learner. Teachers from other classes weren't that much different either. If you weren't catching up with the rest of the class, it meant you weren't trying hard enough. We had to be competitive, and falling behind was something to be embarrassed of. Now I'll move on to my second story. Years passed. I never thought I would get to play a guitar after my traumatic experience in middle school. But guess what I saw as I walked into my high school music class? Guitars. I performed awfully in this class as well, because I couldn't help myself from flinching every time I made a mistake. But my new music teacher, Mrs. Kim, was different. She never let any student feel ashamed for falling behind, and at the same time, never excused one to stop trying either. She taught our class that our objective was not excellence, but patience and efforts to get there. Did my guitar skills improve after her class? Nope. But does that make me a bad person? Not anymore. My attitude towards a challenge has changed completely after this class. When I'm trying to learn something new, I don't stress myself to be good at it. I try to be good at being bad at it. How? Start by embracing your initial ignorance and clumsiness. Because mistakes itself could never wound you. Obsession over not making one will. Second, stop comparing yourself with others. Focus only on the progress you've made. We get told from a very young age that life is a race, a competition. But I now believe that life is actually a marathon. It doesn't matter how much time it takes for you to get to the finishing line. You're a winner as long as you tried all you've got. I hope my story gave you all the courage to race in your own pace. Thank you for your attention.
Everyone, thank you so much for such excellent and outstanding speeches. So now let us give the contestants another big round of applause. And now, at this time, our judges will go tally up their scores. And in the meantime, we have a special congratulatory performance. Today, the Sesori Music School have prepared 3 songs for us. So please welcome them with a big round of applause. Thank you. Now we'll have a time to listen to the special congratulatory message by the founder of IYF, founder Ok-soo Park. So please welcome him with a big round of applause.
여러분 안녕하십니까? 반갑습니다. 우리 2001년에 시작된 영어 말하기 대회가 벌써 이제 세월이 여러 해 흘렀습니다. 그런 동안에 전국의 많은 학생들이 영어에 더 관심이 깊어졌고 유창한 영어로 이야기하는 걸 볼 때 저도 너무 기뻤습니다. 한국은 세계 어느 나라보다도 지혜를 가지고 있고 역경을 잘 이겨낸 나라입니다. 제가 해외 나가서 보면은 한국에서 세계 제로에서 일하지만 조금 언어가 부족해서 한국 사람들 좀 더 다른 나라 사람들 해외 언어에 좀 더 생각하면 좋겠다고 생각이 들어서 2001년에 처음으로 대전에서 영어 말하기 대회를 시작했습니다. 지금 어떻게 할 줄 잘 몰랐는데 그때 마침 여러 단체에서 도와주고 또 대사관 도와주어서 지금까지 긴 세월 동안 해왔었는데 영어 말하기 대회 참가한 학생들이 영어 말하기 대회만 할 뿐 아니라 우리 IYF도 관련돼서 많이 도와주고 또 이 학생들이 해외에 나가서 일을 했는데 감사했던 것은 한국 대통령께서 외국을 방문하실 때 거의 이제 그 나라 통역이 저희들 그 영어 말에 했던 청소년들, IYF 청소년들은 너무너무 감사했습니다. 그런데 그 일로 인해서 우리 한국 학생들이 해외 참 많이 나가서 활동하는데 유창한 영어를 가지고 하는 거 보면 전 영어를 잘 못합니다만은 너무 자랑스럽고 기뻤습니다. 언어는 어릴 때 배워야 합니다. 이제 사실 중학교도 좀 늦다고 생각이 돼요. 초등학교 한 뭐 3학년, 4학년 배우면 참 좋은데 이제 중학생들이 영어를 배우면서 3년 동안 영어를 집중적으로 배우니까 영어를 참 잘하시더라고요. 그래서 우리 IYF는 영어 말하기 대회를 하면서 이젠 뭐 해마다 더 영어가 더 잘해지고 벌써 우리 학생들은 해외에서 활동하는 학생들도 굉장히 많았고 해외 봉사 갔다 와서 그 나라에서 굉장히 좋은 인상을 받고 대통령이나 또 다음에 청소년부 장관들이 우리 칭찬하는 이야기를 많이 듣고 또 그 일 때문에 저도 해외 나가면 기빈들도 많이 만나고 합니다. 이번에 제가 IYF 일로 해외 나가는데 벌써 세계 대통령도 여러분 예약돼 있고 만날 수 있도록 그렇게 돼서 감사를 드리는데 여러분들 더 많은 영어를 해서 한국의 지혜를 또 한국인의 그 마음을 온 세상에 퍼뜨렸으면 참 좋겠습니다. 한국은 얼마 전에 참 가난한 나라였는데 세상이 깜짝 놀랄 만큼 빠른 발전을 해왔습니다. 이제 이것이 한국에 미치지 말고 여러분의 지혜, 여러분의 그 귀한 마음들을 유창한 영어로 온 세계에 펼쳐서 대한민국의 세계 가장 좋은 나라로 소개해 주시기를 바라겠습니다. 영어 막 처음엔 답답하고 어떻게 말해 뭘 안타깝지만 이젠 영어를 막 유창히 하는 여러분 볼 때 너무 감사하고 이번에 상을 탄 분들 또 상을 타지 않는 분들이라도 이렇게 1등을 못했지만 영어 실력 그만큼 늘었으니까 꼭 해마다 영어 말하기 참가해 주시면 도움이 되겠습니다. 그리고 그냥 우리가 영어만 배우지 말고 외국인들하고 교류하는 그런 부분들 또 한국인들은 독특한 성질을 가지고 있어가지고 그러면 좀 미비한 부분이 있는데 저희들의 마인드를 통해서 또 앞으로 여러분 지도해 드리겠습니다. 그래서 전 세계에서 현재 우리 IYF 출신들이 활동을 하고 있는 면이 굉장히 많은데 이번 영어 말하기 대회가 여러분 그냥 말만 하는 게 아니라 여러분에게 있는 지혜 그리고 여러분의 그 선한 마음들 아름다움을 전 세계 두루 퍼치는 그런 귀한 일꾼들이 되기를 바랍니다. 자, 앞으로 기회가 되면 영어만 말고 다른 나라 말도 이렇게 말하는 기회를 갖겠습니다만은 이번 영어 말하기 대회 너무 수고했고 지도해 주신 교사 한 분 한 분에 감사를 드리고 또 도와준 학부모님께도 감사를 드립니다. 영어 말하기 대회 앞으로 계속해서 지탱해 나갈 겁니다. 또 교육부나 관계자들이 도와주셔서 감사를 드립니다. 우리 아름다운 지혜로운 대한민국의 젊은이들이 온 세계가 유창하게 영어로 또 우리를 세상을 한국을 알리고 또 하나님의 큰 축복이 여러분께 넘치게 되기를 바라겠습니다. 감사합니다. 안녕히 계십시오.
Thank you. And now we have another special dance performances prepared by the IYF students under the name of Team American Dream. So please welcome them with a big round of applause.
Hey there, teenage Baltimore! Don't change that channel, cause it's time for the Corny Collins Show! Brought to you by Ultra Clutch Hairspray. Oh, every afternoon when the clock strikes 4, a crazy bunch of kids crash through that door, yeah. Oh, throw off the coats and leave the squares behind, and then they shake it, shake it, shake it like they're losing their mind. And then I see them frown cause they're the nicest kids in town. Oh, every afternoon you turn your TV on. Yeah, we know you turn the sound up when your parents are gone, yeah. Then you twist and shout for your favorite star, and when you practiced every step that's in your repertoire, you better come on down and meet the nicest kids in town. So every afternoon drop everything. Woo! Who needs to be right when you can dance and sing? Ah, la, 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 la. Forget about your algebra and calculus. You can always do your homework on the morning bus. Can't tell a verb from a noun, they're the nicest kids in town. Roll call.
I'm Amber.
Brad.
Tammy.
Fender.
Brenda.
Sketch.
Shelly.
IQ.
Luann.
Joey. Mikey.
Becky.
Jesse.
Carla.
Holly.
Noreen. Doreen.
And I'm Lane. So if every night you're shaking as you lie in bed, shake it, baby, and the bass and drums are pounding in your head. Who cares about sleep when you can snooze in school? You'll never get to college, but you'll sure look cool. No need a camera or gown when you're the nicest kids in town. Yeah, they're the nicest, nicest. They're the nicest, nicest. They're the sugar and spices, nicest kids in diamonds in her shoes. She walks around like she's got nothing to lose. Just she's a go-getter. She's everybody's type. She's a queen of the city, but she don't believe the hype. She's got her own elevation, holy motivation. So I wrote some letters on big goals. I got faith in you, baby. I got faith in you now. And you've been such a good friend to me. Oh, that I love you so high. I met you. Hallelujah. I got faith.
See the boy with the Stevie Wonder swag. Ain't got a clue on the magic that he has. He's a go-getter. He's everybody's type. Wanna make him a mission, make him feel alright. He's a 12 on a 10 point, rocking out to his joint. Just say the word 'cause I can sing all night.
I got faith in you, baby. I got faith in you now. And you've been such a good friend to me. Know that I love you so much. I met you. Hallelujah. I got faith. Yes, I do. I get a running in my mind, goes crazy. I think about you morning, noon, night and day. I get a running in my mind, goes crazy. I think about you morning, noon, night. I met you. Hallelujah. I got faith in you, baby. Baby, I got faith in you now. And you've been such a good friend to me. Know that I love you so much. I met you. Hallelujah. I got faith, baby. I got faith in you, baby. Baby, I got faith in you now. And you've been such a good friend to me. Know that I love you so much. I do. I met you. Hallelujah. I met you. Hallelujah. I met you. Hallelujah. I got faith.
Thank you so much. And now we will have our judge, Scott Scattergood, give the judge's remarks.
Okay, well, speaking on behalf of the judges, congratulations, everybody. It was really outstanding. I've done this for a few years now. It gets better every year. It was not easy. Luckily, there were a lot of judges. We all gave our marks. They added them up, and then they went with the results. We had a nice little spirited debate in the judges' room about who got the top marks and stuff. But there was a very small gap between everyone because everyone performed so well. All of the speeches, the writing was excellent. The stories that you told were really good. And it really seemed like everyone practiced a lot and just so many great performances. I'm really glad I didn't have to choose the winner on my own. I'm glad it was a group work to find the winners, because to us, it felt like everyone was good enough to win. But then I realized you all have won through the regional contests, and this is the national contest. So it's not surprising that they were all so strong. I was trying to make some notes here about, usually I like to give some advice on generally what could everyone practice a little bit more. And I'm coming up with a blank. It's really hard to find anything that was an overriding problem. The only thing I could find would be occasionally a couple people maybe mumble or go too quickly through a couple key words in the speech, or maybe think about pauses. You get excited and you want to, many people go fast. Don't forget, pauses are very important in giving a speech for effect and for letting the audience understand. But I mean, very small problems throughout. It was very well done by everyone, and everyone should be very pleased with their performance up here today. Good job, everybody.
Thank you very much. And now it's finally time for the award ceremony. So now we have the most impressionable speech prize. So the most impressionable speech prize goes to contestant number 22, 손예진. Congratulations. Yes, congratulations. Most impressionable speech prize presented to 손예진. This certificate is presented for placing as specified above in the 21st IYF English Speech Contest National Finals organized by the International Youth Fellowship, November 13th, 2021. 문택 Park, Chairman of IYF. 상품은 문화상품권 5만 원입니다. And now, next, we have the Judges' Choice Award prize. The Judges' Choice Award goes to contestant number 13, 구은성. Congratulations! Judges' Choice Award presented to 구은성. Same as before. Congratulations. 상품은 문화상품권 5만 원입니다. Next, we have the Special Prize Award. And for this award, there will be 5 winners. The winners of the Special Prize Award are contestant number 2, 이상희. Congratulations. And contestant number 17, 김성민. Congratulations. And next, we have contestant number 8, 김경아. Congratulations. And next, we have contestant number 12, 이주미. Congratulations. And lastly, we have contestant number 28, 최예지. Congratulations. 축하드립니다. Special Prize Award presented to all above, same as before. Congratulations. 상품은 문화상품권 10만 원입니다. And now we have the third place. The winner of the third place award is contestant number 19, 윤승현. Congratulations. Third place presented to 윤승현. Same as before. 상품은 장학금 30만 원입니다. And next, we have the second place. 2등상은 국제청소년연합 설립자상입니다. 상품은 장학금 50만 원입니다. The winner of the second place award is contestant number 23, 최원태. Congratulations. 축하합니다. Second place presented to 최원태. This certificate is presented for placing as specified above in the 21st IYF English Speech Contest National Finals organized by the International Youth Fellowship, November 13th, 2021. Founder of IYF, Park Ok-soo. Congratulations. And now, we have the first place. 1등상은 한국청소년단체 협의회 회장상입니다. 상품은 무려 장학금 70만 원입니다. The winner of the first place award is contestant number 6, 박동인. Congratulations. 축하드립니다. First place presented to 박동인 in recognition of achievement in the 21st IYF English Speech Contest National Finals organized by the International Youth Fellowship, November 13th, 2021. Chairman of the National Council of Youth Organizations in Korea, 문용린. Congratulations. 축하드립니다. Finally, we have the grand prize. 대상은 국회의장상입니다. 상품은 무려 장학금 100만 원입니다. Then the winner of the grand prize goes to 두구두구두구두 contestant number 24, 이상훈. Congratulations. Grand prize presented to 이상훈 in recognition of achievement in the 21st IYF English Speech Contest National Finals organized by the International Youth Fellowship, November 13th, 2021. Speaker of the National Assembly, 박병석. Congratulations. 축하드립니다. Then now, congratulations again to all of the contestants who participated in today's contest. So let us give them another big round of applause. Thank you. And now, this will conclude the 21st IYF Online English Speech Contest National Finals. Thank you for participating and bye-bye.